Hello and welcome back to the Repair Panda. Today we are working on a Kenwood 2A portable radio. It's a TK-3180-K. It's labeled as a no power up MPU. So let's go ahead and get started and see what's wrong with this radio today. So first we're going to throw in our battery, turn on the volume pot, and nothing happens. No beeps, no screen. See if the LED lights up. Let's see if the LED lights up. Nope, no LED. Alright, so let's go ahead and take this apart. So for a TK-3180, there's usually two screws. This one's missing one, so we only have one. So we'll go ahead and take that out, and then we should be able to pop it out of the housing. And then we take the keypad off. Take the screen protector off. And now we have a few more screws to take off for the first layer. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This one's also missing a screw down at the bottom here. So let's go ahead and take those screws off. Alright, now we can just flip this to its side. As you can see, there's a few different connections going on here, from the top board to the bottom board. We have a flex here, and our speaker wires right here. We're not going to disconnect the speaker wires, there's no need to, but we will disconnect these two flexes right here. We just pry open the retainer clips on them, and they come off, like so. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 more screws. But before we do that, there's a fuse up here that we want to take a look at with our multimeter. We want to make sure that it's not blown. So how do we do that? We turn our multimeter to continuity mode, which means it beeps when it finds a path. We go on both sides. As you can see, it's not beeping, so this fuse is no good, which is okay. So there's another one down here, right here. As you can hear, it beeps, and that's how you know that's a good fuse. I call them a fuse, but they're actually a 0 ohm resistor that has a rating for roughly 2 to 3 amps to go through them before they blow to protect everything else on the circuitry. So we know it's not the volume pot that's causing the issue, at least for right now. So we'll go ahead and take this board out. So we'll have to disconnect these two flexes and then get a replacement fuse and replace that fuse and see if it'll power on after. So let's go ahead and take these screws out. The top and bottom screws are the same, so I'm not too worried about mixing them up. The only two that are different are these two black ones right here. And because they go where the white screens are, I'm not too worried about mixing them up with the silver ones. Alright, so I have all the screws. No, I don't. I have one left. Alright, I have all the screws taken out. Let's take these flexes out here. And then this board should lift out. Just gotta get the flexes out the way. And there we go. We can set the frame off to the side for now. And now we're just going to take a look at this fuse right here. Right. I don't know if you can see that little piece right here. But that's how small the fuse is that we're going to be replacing. So what we want to do is heat up the area, get the solder melted, and we'll be able to pull off that 0 ohm fuse. There you go. It's as simple as that. And actually, there's a second one there. Looks like they just put 2 of them in there. I don't know why. They layered it on top of each other, which is something you do not want to do. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to make sure that this has a good solder on it. So we're going to heat up our solder iron and get some fresh solder onto that area. Get a little bit of flux on there as well. There we go. Now that we have solder on it, some fresh solder, we're going to take the fuse and lay it down ever so gently on top of the solder. Take our heat gun and heat it into place. It might bounce around on you. All you gotta do, come on, there it goes. Bounced right into place. And there we go. Now we just let it cool down. And we'll put the PCB board back into the frame. Connect these two holes right here because those are what are pulling power from the battery. Reconnect the flex and see if it powers on. Alright, so I have all the flexes back together. I have the two battery contacts connected. So we'll just flip this over for right now. Throw in our battery and turn it on. And there you go. Power's on just fine. It was just one little fuse that made this radio not power on. That fuse blows before it damages anything else on the radio. And because of that fuse, this radio should work 100% now. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this off screen real quick, get it back into a housing, and go ahead and test on our service monitor. Alright, while I was putting this back together, I noticed that there was an issue with the volume pop. Can't really see it. See if we can't get close here. There you go. You can kind of see that the volume pot kind of is bent towards the right here, to the right. It kind of goes and then goes back up. There's a good view of it. So there, that volume pot's another issue with this radio. Not just the fuse, but the fuse is what caused it from not powering up, not the volume pot. We'll go ahead and we're going to replace the volume pot as well on this radio, which I'm going to use my desoldering iron with. And because we're doing it onto a flex, you want to be as quick as possible so you don't melt anything on the flex. Alright. Then you just get a flathead and go underneath. And voila. Then you grab a new volume pot, slide the pins into the holes of the flex. Sometimes the pins need to be slightly adjusted. Alright. With the new volume pot, we slide it through the flex, and then we go ahead and bring in the solder. Again, as quick as possible so you don't damage the flex. There we go. And as always, I take the desoldering tip, place it on there, make sure everything is nice and soldered through the through hole. And just like that, we have a new volume pot for this radio. Now this is where Kenwoods differ from most radios. They have too long of a lead for their legs on the volume pot. So all you gotta do is get some snippers and snip them down, because if you don't, it'll be touching the channel selector and then you'll have all sorts of issues. And there you go. Now that they're cut down, we can slide them back into the housing, re-add the retaining clip, add in a screw to hold it in place, and now you have a new volume pot. I'm going to pause this video real quick, get this all reassembled with the actual PCB boards, and we'll go ahead and test it on our service monitor. Here's a shot of the screen from the service monitor. I'm using a Freedom 8000C. The points that we want to take a look at during this check is the output level, the input level, freak error, and deviation. Deviation, as long as you have your radio programmed to 12.5 kilohertz channel spacing, should not go higher than 2.5 kilohertz. Freak error should be as close to 0 as possible, 0 hertz that is. Our output level is negative 117 dBm, so the radio should have a signal coming to it when we hit our generate button over here. And this is a 5-watt UHF radio from Kenwood. So I usually have this radio in between 4.5 and 5 watts. It's normally what I look for. And if I need to do some tuning, I'll pull up the tuning profile and we'll do some tuning. So let's go ahead and set our frequencies. 485.55. Alright. So now we key up the radio. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2, check, 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 check. As you can see, our power is around 4.7, 4.8. Our freak error is in the hertz. It's negative. Check, check. Maxes out around 20 hertz, and our deviation does not go above 2.5. So that works. Now we're going to hit our generate side, which makes our radio have a receive sound. And as you can hear, it's pretty clear. There's a little static in the background, but there is a tone coming through. So we now know this is a good passing radio. And with that, this radio is now 100% complete. And as you can see, all the buttons do work. They all have sounds. And if you look at the LED, it lights up red when I push the PTT. So everything is working, and this is now a working radio. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.